have been very uplifting. The stuffed animals, one individual took the stuffed animal, right away named it, right away said, I'm sleeping with him. I don't know if it was a him or her, it doesn't matter, but it's like right away, saw that as a piece of comfort. And what was exciting for others of them was going through each piece. There's been a few times where I've been there sitting while they open up and looked at each piece, and how there were personal notes tucked into the makeup bag, tucked into the inspirational book, rolled up with a ribbon around it. I mean, there are just several in a bag of personalized notes. Very special, very special. So thank you for that. And it has been. And the bags are beautifully made. They're handmade, but very sturdy and lots of different colorful designs on it. So thank you, Michelle. Let's see. Who else would like to introduce themselves? I'm just seeing a few on the screen. I don't want to leave anybody out, but please jump in.
This is Lois Thayer, and I've been interested in this for a while and tried to help out. And anyway, this is the first Zoom I've come on.
Yeah.
I was interested about them. I think they're going to talk about the fair trade stuff tonight, right?
Yes, actually direct trade, and there is a difference, but yeah.
Pardon?
Did you say pardon me?
Yeah, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, it's about direct trade. There's fair trade and direct trade, and there are differences. And Jana can speak to that, but also there's lots of great resources that help describe the difference. They both are important, but direct trade just has some unique values that are within that approach to ethically sourced products. Yeah.
Well, and I just have to say the chocolate is what I'm interested in. I was wanting to get some more direct information because I love chocolate. I figure I'm probably not buying fair trade chocolate. So anyway, that's why I'm here.
Okay. And Lois, thank you. I know you said you try to help, but actually, okay. So let's see. Loretta, could you send Marcia by email a link? She said she got it, but she can't find it. I think it's in her email somewhere, and she's trying to join us. Did you hear me, Loretta?
Yeah, nope, I'll do it.
Thank you. But Lois has been involved for a number of years, along with the Church Community of Christ in Jefferson City, both financially, helping with food, people who need gas, people who need rides. And there was one situation where the survivors had a young girl, and Lois was among the crew that actually drove their little girl to kindergarten every single day and picked her up from school every single day. So that could be uninterrupted schooling for this little 5-year-old. And Lois was among the handful of volunteers that were dedicated to go daily to get her to school and back. So thank you.
And I enjoyed it. She was a really sweet little girl.
She still is, probably.
Yeah, I just haven't seen anybody forever.
Yeah. I see Marlene.
I don't see you. I'm trying to, I do see you, but I don't see me. Well, anyway.
I see you.
We see part of you. You're on one side of the screen, but we can see.
I don't know what I'm doing here, but hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, am I to introduce myself?
Yes.
I just came in late and it's not looking right here on the screen. But in any case, I'm on the advisory committee and I've been a supporter for quite a long while and used to do a lot of active volunteer work, and I've sort of slowed down because I don't think I drive very well anymore. But I'm here as a supporter and advocate.
Do you want to mention the book that
I'm working on a book. I have published 5 books, but I'm trying now to publish a book that is about the subject of trafficking. And I will keep you posted if anything good seems to be happening on that front.
Okay. Thank you, Marlene.
I want to buy some chocolates.
Okay. Let's see. Nisha, And Angela, a couple more of you here.
Yeah, I work with the Covering House. So I am a youth development specialist. I work directly with girls who've been sexually exploited and trafficked. So their day-to-day activities and therapeutic de-escalations and stuff. So whenever they're or when they're escalated and having a trauma-related episode, you know, I guide them through that. And they also, whenever they get like teddy bears and stuff like that, is huge to them. Like they really use it at night for comfort, or if they're having a meltdown, it's actually very useful. So if you were curious about how effective those things are,
Yeah.
they really get so excited anytime they get some kind of basket or anything like that. They really appreciate it.
Mm.
We've had a girl actually cry over it. So it does mean a lot to them.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah.
There was a very recent survivor who actually sent a text to me and said, do you think I could get a stuffed animal? And she said, I don't want you to think I'm a baby. It's like, no. But people, adults, we all love stuffed animals, and
Mhm.
had a teddy bear to pass on to her, and she named it Pickles right away and put the face mask on it. And so,
Well,
yes,
there's a lot of girls, you know, that get their childhood taken from them in this situation. So it's kind of like bittersweet in a way, and it's okay for them to express that and feel that way whenever they've not had that opportunity and it's been taken from them. So we totally encourage them to find comfort in any way, shape, and form that they can. So thank you for that.
Nisha, I'm going to come back to you as well, but I'm going to let Angela
Okay.
introduce herself. So if you would share a little bit more about Covering House after Pete
Okay.
shares about the banking industry a little bit, so we can get the whole broad input of the people who are on with us today. So,
Okay.
thank you.
I'm Angela Harris, and I'm very much interested in, would like to get involved more volunteer wise, but I've been kind of in a transitional state. I've actually, my mom's house is on the market. So I'm not sure where I'm going to be living, if I'm going to stay in Missouri or if I'm going to move to the East Coast. But I've been helping the coalition financially for now, and just wanting to, you know, figure out what the Lord would have me do in the future.
For all of you, I know there's more than just you, Angela, on who supports with the monthly donation. That's really significant. Thank you. I know we have, I'm seeing Mina and Elle and Jana and Marcia joined us. Somebody speak up and please introduce yourself.
I'll go. I'm Chris Gansimer. I'm from Lake of the Ozark, Stop Human Trafficking. I'm a past board member.
Okay, and how are things there in Camdenton?
Well, the coalition hasn't had any meetings recently, but they have helped some victims. They are, I guess, in kind of a transition since COVID. So we lost a couple board members and they got new board members. So it's been kind of slow.
Mm-hmm.
But they have helped, I think, 7 or 8 victims this year.
Okay. And I know also there's a great domestic violence shelter, Citizens Against Domestic Violence.
Yes.
And actually at least 2 survivors, maybe 3 that have identified themselves and are being served very well by that particular shelter.
Yeah. CADV, which is what they go by, has
Mhm.
been a godsend to the coalition. They've helped with a lot of survivors. So we appreciate that.
Yes, and just a quick note, since I mentioned CADV that are in Camden, I transported a survivor there that was identified here in Columbia, but needed to get out of Columbia, and she's been sheltered there and doing really well. But we had a chance to talk. They had me come and talk to the women's support group they have every week, because there's such an intersection of those who are in DV shelters of what they've experienced with human trafficking, that maybe they're at really high risk because of the past abuse and violence they've experienced, or maybe they didn't even know that what they experienced was human trafficking. So it was a small group, but it was great. I think it really opened up some of their eyes in terms of looking back and what they experienced and where they could have been at risk, and where maybe somebody who had experienced kidnapping and was being taken somewhere but managed to get away, if maybe that was what that person who kidnapped them and had intended. So just understanding themselves as very vulnerable folks, the role human trafficking has in their life and their life experience, and being prepared moving forward and keeping themselves safe. So I appreciated that. I know Mina is on. I know Elle, you said you're not able to talk, but let's see. Mina, are you here? Can you introduce yourself? Give her a second if she's able to. Oh, she said her audio might be broken. Mina is a, just went blank, Battle High School student who was among the class members who heard a talk on human trafficking. Leah, who's a board member, her son was in that class on human rights. And Mina was among the 2 different classes that I spoke to, and she approached me and wanted to get involved in this. So welcome, Mina. Let's see, who else? Marcia.
I'm Marcia Walker. I support the Stop Human Trafficking Coalition by finding resources for them. And I host women for 2 weeks when they're looking for permanent housing or more permanent housing.
You've been a wonderful host, Marcia. Thank you. And by the way, so we don't forget, Marcia, Loretta, I know you're listening. There are 2 sources that have just opened up for the new year, and that's their church, which is it Broadway Christian Church, Marcia?
Yes.
And then also Assistance League of Mid-Missouri. So it's that new cycle. So Marcia mentioned that to me the other day, and I wanted to make sure I pass that on to you, Loretta.
Got
Okay.
it.
Got it. Okay. Is there anyone else? Have I missed anyone? Okay, so just Pete, and then also Nisha, and then we have a couple announcements. Rochelle, if you would talk about the event coming up in November. And let's see, who else is on here? Let's see. Oh, we have the trailer for the document. Yep. So, okay, Pete.
Yeah, real quick. And for those who don't know, my primary job is banks are required to watch where money comes and goes. And if there's something that looks potentially illegal or unusual, we're supposed to keep an eye on it. And obviously, because there's money involved with trafficking, we're going to see it in our business. The one thing that's been really interesting, and just to be aware of, we've started to see people move away from cash. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of people don't carry cash around anymore like they used to. And they also want something that's easier to handle. So what we've started to see is 2 things. One, a lot more direct payments. So we're actually now looking for individuals that have repeating $50, $100, $150, $200 transactions from random people, right? Because that tends to be an indicator that somebody is buying something. So if I get a whole bunch of $50 transactions or $100 transactions from people that aren't related to me, that's been an indicator. And we've actually started to identify that as a new way of moving funds. Although some of the Zells and similar companies are getting better at identifying it. So those are, we're seeing those, but they're actually starting to get slowed down. The one that's a little more concerning is you may or may not have seen in some gas stations and other places, convenience stores, things called Bitcoin ATMs. So you go in there, you can put up to $750 into the machine, and you can buy $750 worth of Bitcoin. Now, what happens is then people are then using those Bitcoin as a payment method, and it's even harder to track than cash or Zelle or similar payments. So unfortunately, we've started to see, and it's really hard to identify because those transactions don't go through as many banks. but people are now starting to use those ATMs and those places to buy and purchase illegal items, including human beings. So those are some trends we've been seeing, things that the FBI and other law enforcement are seeing. So we're looking for ways to try to stop people and identify them. The bad news is the bad guys keep figuring out new ways to hide the money. So that's my quick update. So, you know, you may think that Bitcoins, the one thing I always remind people, because I know a lot of people are talking about Bitcoins, about 40% of Bitcoin transactions are illegal or gray market activities. So there's some good to it, but unfortunately there's a really dark belly at the underside. So that's my banking update for the day. How's that?
Thank you. I was going to ask you, you mentioned Zelle. What about Venmo and Cash App?
Oh,
How
yeah,
do the,
all those. And we really have started to see it, especially on kind of the street level transactions, the small drug purchases, and the counters, as they say, are starting to appear more and more, because it's really easy. Everybody has a phone. You just type in their phone number, boom, you move money over on Venmo, and it's bad. So unfortunately, those companies are getting better at spotting them and shutting people down doing them. But problem is you get a new phone number, you got a new account, and it's really hard to manage. So it is a concern right now, pretty significant one.
and it's so, if somebody else doesn't have it, they just take a minute to download it on their phone and then they have it, then they can receive or send just.
And it's
Yeah.
really easy, you know, rather than handing a $50 bill order, you type in a number and your $50 is moved, and it's a lot cleaner and a lot easier to hide, unfortunately.
I'm sorry, Jana, I know you're a guest speaker, but you're also a coalition volunteer. So let me let you introduce yourself. And Elle says she can't speak. She's still coughing. If you want to introduce her as well, then we'll move on to Nisha.
Sure. Hi, I'm Jana. I'm one of the education committee members, as well as my sister. So we've both been part of the coalition for nearly 2 years now, since we've moved from New York City. And then just a little towards the middle of last year, we opened our own nonprofit that we serve the survivors of that Nanette rescues. So we teach them job skills.
And both of them are getting over sick. So Jana almost wasn't going to make it today. So I'm just really happy that you can speak enough to share with us. Thank you. Okay, Nisha, will you just share a little bit more about Covering House? Because it's
Go ahead.
St. Louis, right?
Yes, it's St. Louis metropolitan area. But actually I can't disclose the location or anything, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's good.
For confidentiality reasons,
Yes.
obviously. We actually just got, I guess it was probably 6 months ago, we got our first international. She's from Guatemala, and she had been here, I guess, like 4 years, brought from a family member and stuff. So she has learned impeccable English skills, but she actually says she's starting to forget some of her Spanish. So we make sure they have school. It's in the house. It's like a house setting. So we have up to 5 girls at a time, and they usually will share a room. And they have their own individual therapy. We have a therapist come to the house a couple times a week, and they'll have therapy for anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, however long they need. But they cook, they learn different life skills, and they work on their own phases, and there's like a phase level system. So they'll get more responsibilities and more is expected of them. And they learn a lot of, about themselves, about dignity and respect, and, pretty much whatever's happened, that it's not their fault, and they can find a way to cope outside. Once they, leave the Covering House, they can cope outside, and things that trigger them, they'll be able to handle it in a more, healthy way. Because a lot of times with sex trafficking and minors, especially, they'll turn to drugs or whatever to try to numb the pain. whatever they need to do. So we do encourage them and teach them a lot about their own self-coping. But there's lots of staff that care. We do anything from there's the education. They have a very structured schedule during the day. So certain things are expected for them to do programming. It also counts towards schooling. We've had girls that graduate early and move up in grades that didn't think that they'd graduate. They're too far behind because they've been out of school for obvious reasons. So like, we're very proud of it's a 12 to 18 month program. So the girls live and, coexist together and try to, figure out their own journey, and we're there to guide them. So it's really a blessing.
Yeah, it's a wonderful program.
Yeah.
How many, no, that was not, what's the age range? That's what I wanted to ask you.
The youngest we've had was 12. So, but I've just been there for about a year. So the youngest we've had is 12 that I've been there.
And I know there's an age range that you actually serve, so that up to
Mhm.
certain, then after that, there would be somebody going to a different program.
Yeah, we have a community based as well. So like after they graduate the program, we don't just be like, okay, you're on your own. We don't do
Right.
that.
No,
We help them. Their community based kind of gets them in their own, I guess you would kind of say like their own housing, their own apartment in a way, and teach them how to survive and also flourish, on their own, but with the assistance of the covering house. So that way they feel secure, like they're not just thrown out into the world and here you go, and they can also continue to get therapy and everything while they're with the community base of the covering house. So it's a terrific program.
it is, it is. And Loretta, if you don't mind, maybe putting up the website for anyone who's interested. And really, I mentioned St. Louis just because I appreciate knowing the area where there's a program, because I know that there's some long-term residential in St. Louis and in Kansas
Mhm.
City and Harrisonville. So it's just kind of, and one in Stockton. So it's just kind of nice to know where these programs are, but they do exist all around the country.
Mhm.
But specializing for minors, there are programs that do that. Some programs that specialize for adult women. There are very few for boys and men, but they are out there. And Loretta just posted the website if you want to take a look.
And recently,
yeah.
we're actually expected to expand, I think somewhat in the Arnold area. It's a way bigger place and it'll be able to hold like 15 girls, because right now we only have enough space for about 5.
Wow.
So yeah. So also anybody wanting to apply, go ahead. Because things with COVID and everything has kind of made employment a little rough. So anybody's interested.
Terrific. I'm glad to hear expanding. Some folks may have also remember Restoration House when Roxy Lloyd shared. And they're actually expanding also, and the new facility that they'll have will actually be wheelchair accessible, which is great. So Nisha, is your program wheelchair accessible? I know.
Not at the location we have right now. But I mean, it's a house. So I mean, there's like, technically they could, I mean, it's just like, there's a couple small steps they could. We have a room downstairs. So like, if they needed to, we could, but like I said, they're expanding and I'm sure that would be something that they'll have there. I have no doubt, because it's got a lot of different additions than what the house we have now. It's very
Okay.
large. I'm sure, I don't see a reason why they wouldn't have that.
Great.
So.
Okay. Let's see, Rochelle, will you talk? Thank you, Nisha. Rochelle, will you talk about the event coming up?
Sure. So we have some exciting news. We have a really big fundraising event that we are planning with Nick Parks, who owns Level Up Entertainment in the Columbia Mall. He's also the owner of Silverball Pinball Company and a bunch of other, he's doing a lot of stuff. around the community. So he's actually working on another addition to Level Up in the mall. And so this is going to be kind of a kickoff to his grand opening for that. So we're doing an 80s prom party themed, and his new addition in the mall will have a roller rink and a mini golf. And so it's all going to be kind of themed around that whole 80s vibe. And we're shooting for a 200 guest count at $100 a couple or $50 if they want to go stag. And 100% of that ticket sales goes back to the coalition. And then, so if you do the math, that's a nice chunk of change that we would be getting. So he's the main sponsor. He's providing the food, he's providing the location, he's providing little gift bags for people coming in. And so we're working on getting some more sponsors for the event. We're actually meeting tomorrow to kind of go over some more things. It's going to be November 12th. I think that's a Friday, from 6 o'clock to 9 p.m. And we'll have, a presentation in there and just a bunch of fun night for people to come out and hopefully learn, about the coalition and what we do and how they can get involved, and just helping to spread awareness and to raise some money. There will also be some more stuff that we'll have going on throughout the evening that will also raise money for the coalition. So really, really excited for this fundraising event. So looking forward to it.
And Nick has, they have like 3, what would you call, charity groups that they have selected to do support
So
for.
he developed a nonprofit specifically for doing fundraisers for other nonprofits. So it takes the work off of us, not having to do all the, the background and the just
all the work,
all the
work.
everything. So
Yeah.
he developed this nonprofit, and he picked specific other nonprofits, charities, and we were one of them. And we are very, very thankful to have this opportunity. And we're hoping that this will be an annual event and it will grow each year. So yeah, really excited.
Okay. All right, let's see. And I missed, Ed, I think you're on here. I saw your name. If you're there and can unmute and want to introduce yourself, you're on the board. So I didn't want to miss you. And if there's, are you, okay, I should stop talking for a minute in case Ed wants to jump in. I saw your name, Ed, or I saw William. Oh, wait, no, that's Marlene. Is
Yeah.
Marlene? Oh, you fooled me. Had William's name up there. I was thinking of, that doesn't even make sense, does it?
Well, that's Bill's Zoom.
No, that's not Ed, that's Bill. Okay, just pretend I didn't even go.
I'll pretend to be Ed if you want me to. I think he's a wonderful man.
He certainly is. Okay, so we just had World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. It was started by the United Nations. July 30th is that day, and it's a day to globally raise awareness. And every year there's a theme, and this year's theme was Victims' Voices Lead the Way. Of course, on our flyer, we use the word Survivors' Voices Lead the Way. And just appreciate all the folks who helped make this possible, all the preparation. We had a proclamation that will play, that was on FaceTime Live, that was read by Mayor Pro Tem Carl Scala. And we had a Human Trafficking 101 class. We had a panel of survivors that shared. And we had a documentary, Hope Road, from Victim to Survivor. And it's like kind of one event led into the other. They brought along some new people that hadn't been engaged at all with any anti-trafficking or coalition-related work. There are actually 2 women that came because they heard the announcement on the radio. So it was great. It's always good to have some new people come out. There was a small group of 3 people who came from one particular church. So just looking forward to partnership with them as well. If we could listen to the proclamation, because I think it has some good words that we can ponder for World Day Against Trafficking in Persons.
The audio's not playing, by the way.
Let me try this again and see if I can get the audio.
I know I throw these things at Loretta at the last minute. Loretta, let's play this. Please pull up this.
Let's see if I can get it to work this time.
Proclamations. This is very important work. Like I said, I'm a psychologist by training. My wife has been in public health for many, many years. And obviously this board has been involved in this for a long, long time. It's a never-ending battle that you have to take your place, and this is one of the places that are very important. So, on behalf of the mayor and the city council, as Mayor Pro Tem, let me read this proclamation. So, City of Columbia, Missouri, Office of the Mayor. Whereas in 2013, the United Nations General Assembly adopted Resolution Res 68-192, designating July 30th as the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, and declared that such a day was necessary to raise awareness of victims of human trafficking and for the promotion and protection of their rights. Whereas trafficking in persons is a serious crime that exploits people to generate $150 billion in illegal profit worldwide, and whereas human trafficking violates basic human rights to freedom, autonomy, human dignity, freedom from exploitation, abuse, and slavery, and whereas, according to the International Labor Organization, there is an estimated 40.3 million women and men worldwide who are victims of trafficking in their own countries and abroad, and more victims are being identified each year as the number of countries reporting trafficking convictions continues to grow. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, and enduring discriminatory practices have further vulnerable exploitation, trafficking, and whereas globally, for every 10 victims detected, 5 are adult women and 2 are girls. And whereas human trafficking in the forms of forced labor and commercial sexual exploitation is happening in all 50 states of our country, including Missouri, rural towns, big cities, along highways, in homes, businesses, and beyond. And whereas victims of human trafficking may experience ignorance or misunderstanding in their attempts to get help, have traumatic post-rescue experiences during identification interviews, and legal proceedings based on re-victimization and punishment for crimes they were forced to commit by the traffickers, be subjected to stigmatization or receive inadequate support. And whereas survivors of trafficking are key actors in the fight against trafficking, playing a crucial role in establishing effective measures to prevent this crime, identifying and rescuing victims, and supporting them on their road to rehabilitation. And whereas listening to victims and survivors, we can learn from their experiences and turn their suggestions into concrete actions that will lead to a more victim-centered and effective approach in combating human trafficking. And whereas the Stop Human Trafficking Coalition in Missouri is dedicated to providing emergency, stabilizing, and proactive services to victims, to include the voices and engagement of survivors in our local efforts to prevent and end human trafficking. Now, therefore, I, Brian Treese, Mayor of the City of Columbia, do hereby proclaim Friday, July 30th, 2021 as World Day Against Trafficking in Persons in the City of Columbia, Missouri. I encourage everyone to learn about human trafficking as a global, national, and local issue to help raise awareness and to listen and learn from survivors of human trafficking to better protect their rights. Signed, Brian Treese.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge again how, with victims' voices lead the way, survivors' voices lead the way, how it is important to have their voice. And it was so significant to have the survivors who shared that day. Carl just thought he would be kind of swooping in and out, not saying that in any negative way. He had a very busy day, but made time to come and do the proclamation. But he knew that he was sharing this proclamation before the panel of speakers. And actually we had 2 advocates who also shared along with survivors. And he stayed for quite a while to be able to listen to a few of the survivor voices and engage with us about, what's going on here in Columbia, what survivors are experiencing, advocates are seeing here in Columbia. So appreciated his presence. And he actually said he would be very open to dialogue. I think he said he would be more interested in talking about that than what is the debate in Columbia about roll garbage carts? Does that ring a bell to anybody? How there's a debate about rolling trash cans? Is that right? Is that anyway? His point being that this was a very matter, and he would love to engage in a conversation beyond what he was there for that day. And also, in case you didn't hear, but for every 10 victims detected, 5 are adult women and 2 are children around the world. So the significant impact on our women and our children, but definitely men are affected as well. And just how survivors are key players, it's dependent on them to give testimony, dependent on them to report. And it can be very re-traumatizing to have to relay what happened to them, to have to relive the details. But also, in telling stories and teaching us, informing us of how to be better advocates, how to be better service providers. So just want to acknowledge their role, at least locally, and the difference that they make in the coalition and what we're able to do, that we need to continue to listen to them and learn from them. Any comments? Okay.
One more thing. It's
Yes.
Nisha.
Yes.
We actually take girls from other states as well. So it's not just in the St. Louis metropolitan area. We actually have a girl right now all the way from North Carolina that has come here specifically for the Covering House.
Yes.
So just throwing that out there. It's not just Missouri that, these girls are coming from.
Exactly. It is very, very important. They're moved about from all over within the state and from other states and from other countries. And that's definitely an important point. We have to keep that in mind. It's not like just, well, who do we need to help in Missouri? Well, they're coming from all over the country.
Yes.
And even when we think, well, who's here in Columbia? Well, they might be here in Columbia, but they came from some other place in Missouri, maybe a rural town. There's so much to consider about where they came from and where they want to be safe. Like I mentioned, driving someone all the way from Columbia to Camdenton because they needed out of Columbia. And other people have from Camdenton to Columbia to get out of Camdenton and to be sheltered safely in Columbia. So we do need to keep that in mind. So thank you, Nisha. It really is important. Yeah. Anything else? We could, Loretta, would you share the announcement about August 10th? And then show the trailer. Loretta, are you on audio?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
okay. I was thinking you wanted to, I just
Oh,
pulled it
no,
up.
thank you for putting it. I just thought a different voice would be great. Besides
All right. Well, on Tuesday, we would love to have you guys join us for the documentary Hope Road from Victim to Survivor. This is a documentary about child sex trafficking that actually Nanette and a survivor that we help serve both appear in the documentary. It is on Tuesday, August 10th. We are showing it at the Moberly Area Community College in their activity center, which is located in the main lobby. There's a conference room right there in the main lobby of the activity center, and we'll be in that conference room. Doors open at 5:30. The film starts at 6. We would love for you to register at this Eventbrite site just because we have limited seating. Registration is free, but we do need to know how many are coming to make sure we have seats for everyone. So you can go to eventbrite.com and just search Hope Road to register for the documentary. And we invite you to stay for a live Q&A after the film with director Susan Cook. We will be accepting donations to support survivors of human trafficking, and we'll have coffee, t-shirts, the monster crayons for sale, and all the proceeds from this event will benefit local survivors of human trafficking here in our community.
Yeah. So there's no cost to register. But like Loretta said, it helps to know. But let me just say, if you don't register and you go, oh my gosh, I didn't register and I want to go see the movie, please go see it. Please go see it. If you're from here, Moberly's not that far away. If you have friends in Moberly, if you have friends in any direction up north, please let them know. It is a Facebook event on the coalition's Facebook page, so you can share that event. So please go on our Facebook page and share. And I guess we can show the trailer. I think Loretta's pulling that up. We don't have sound again. There we go.
When I was 12, we were hitchhiking from Idaho to Oregon, and a semi driver had pulled over and picked us up. But that was the first time I was trafficked.
About a year after he began raping me, around the time that I was 4 years old, my father, he began to sell me to other men. And it began with an uncle.
Me being a kid, I was 12 and 13 years old. They never used the word prostitution, but that's what we're talking about.
14 is when I actually met the guy who would become my trafficker. I was trafficked while I was still at home, still going to school, still going through all those things. And so, like, that was my first time being sold.
Obviously, you have the updated information about where the next documentary be held, and it's a 56-minute documentary, but it is, it packs a punch. So thanks, Loretta. Let's get everybody back on. Is it just me? Oh, there we are. Okay. So Elle, I'm so sorry you're still not well. Jana, thank you for making that effort to speak and be present, be prepared. We are so grateful to have the two of you in our community. And I think it's what, three businesses and a not-for-profit or something like that. Sweet Saviors, Chocolate, and there's another one, isn't there? Anyway, I'll stop. I'm going to let you speak for yourself since I have nothing in front of me because I'm on my phone. And please share a little bit about you and Elle before you talk about the direct trade and how you fight human trafficking in your business practices.
Sure.
Well,
So, again, my name is Jana. Both my sister and I were kind of, we grew up into the food industry. So my sister has been a chef for upwards of 30 years, and I have been a pastry chef for 12 years now. My direct training really came from my sister, and I also went to culinary school, and I have like a little bit of background with chemistry. So it's a very scientific trade, but people tend to not think about that part. And so like our entire line of our mom's side is usually people that are artists in the food industry. So different forms of art. Like I have a brother that's an animator. I have another brother that's also a chef. So it's mostly that. And on our dad's side, it's mostly intellectuals. So educators, people in business. So it's a mesh between people that are in food, artistry, and intellectuals. So with that, Lorelai, or my sister Elle, she started Sweet Savour in 2008, and that started as a catering company. So we mostly catered to people that are in the finance industry, are within like the auto trade. So it would vary, but it's mostly like in the financial industry that we catered to, especially when we did the same thing in New York City. And it was just recently when we moved to Colombia that we focused on chocolates, and we really wanted to feature the chocolates more here in Colombia as an introduction to everything else that we have to offer. And so learning about how the chocolate industry operates, we really made it a point to really source it the most ethical way possible, on top of being able to cater to our clients, making sure that we provide them with the highest quality of products that are still good for them and are beneficial to them as like nutrient wise, and also to the community. Sorry, I'm still sick, so I'm a little hard of breathing. And so with that, we really focus a lot on educating people where chocolate comes from, because when you say chocolate, people automatically associates that with it not being healthy, when in its purest form, chocolate is one of the main superfoods that are actually anti-cancer. So a lot of like the cancer doctors, they know that dark chocolate is a source to fight cancer. And that's mainly how we started educating people on how chocolate is made, where it comes from, how it's sourced, and how it goes to the end consumer. And so I wanted to share that part of what the differences between direct and fair trade chocolate is, how chocolate is made, and how it's being traded. And so if you're, actually Netflix came out with a documentary, it's called Rotten, and part one of the segments that they have is about chocolate. So chocolate, if you're not familiar, comes from an actual tree, a cacao tree, and it mainly grows within 20 degrees north and south of the equator. So if you're, let me share my screen really quick. Oh, I can't do that yet. So our logo, it's actually 3 circles. So that represents the 3 facets of chocolate. The middle part of it has a line strike through the middle, and that represents the equator, which represents where chocolate is grown. So 20 degrees north and south of the equator. So mainly the biggest chocolate trading happens in Ivory Coast in Africa. And then it also grows in Tanzania. There are some chocolate farmers in Hawaii, and there's also some in the Philippines, but there's a deficit right now. So we don't have enough cacao farmers to be able to import more cacao beans. And I'm going to brag on my own country. The Philippines is actually part of the top 3 chocolate, like the best chocolate that's ever grown. So growing up, we had a cacao tree in our backyard. And so it was mostly ingrained in us that our mother taught us how to make chocolate from the actual bean, from the actual fruit. So chocolate, it looks, it's a cacao pod. Inside, it's surrounded by a white pith, and that's a fruit. And it's actually sweet. So depending on what soil the cacao tree is grown, what its neighboring plants are, the humidity, it actually varies in how it tastes like. So it's much like coffee and wine, where the terroir is different depending on the growing environment.
Anna, did you have slides to show or wanted to share your screen?
I wanted to just like show the website and the logo, so I'm not. So that's fine.
Okay.
So I have like a sample of what a cacao bean looks like. So it would be easier if we were together, but this I'll make do. Oh, thank you, Loretta. So this is our logo. And then we recently just turned everything to vegan, so more people are able to consume our chocolates without having the dairy problem aspect of it. And so each of our chocolates have like different health benefits to them, each flavor. And so some of the flavors that we also have, like the elderberry, the elderflower, they're locally grown in New Bloomfield. So we make it a point to partner with local farmers as well. So that's like the part where, so once you have like the cacao beans, this is the part where it gets perverted, I guess, for the lack of a better term. So once they grow the cacao beans, this is the part where it gets really dirty, because a lot of the cacao farms, they kidnap children to work in their cacao plantations. And this happens predominantly in Africa, but most because like they're the main growers. And then once the cacao brokers make a deal with the cacao farmers, they basically have a say how much each pounds of beans are going to cost, with the fact that them knowing the cacao farmers aren't actually getting paid, on top of child trafficking. So this year, Nestle was sued by the Supreme Court because their farm in the Ivory Coast, they were caught trafficking 6 children. And the whole gist of the story was that the Supreme Court basically said we can't do anything with whatever Nestle is doing with their plantations. So even if they do child trafficking, we can't really convict them for it. And so they basically got a free pass. Yeah, this is the story. And so because knowing that this happens a lot, there are like companies that do fair trade, and the bad side of a company saying that something is fair trade is much like when you're saying when you see a sticker of USDA organic, we don't really know what that means. We think that it is organic, but we have no idea unless we go to the actual farms ourselves and check for it ourselves. But at the end of the day, we have no clue. So the difference between fair trade and direct trade chocolate is that when you say direct trade, it's either the actual chocolate makers growing the beans themselves, or the actual chocolate makers partnering with the cacao farms, making sure that there's no child trafficking involved in their cacao farms. So the chocolate makers that we partner with, they're actually local in Missouri, so they're in Springfield, and annually they check their farms, that the 4 of the farms that they do direct trade with, and make sure that there's no child trafficking involved, that the community is getting better in terms of they're making sure that the children that are in the surrounding farms are getting the education that they should be getting, so that they're less prone to being trafficked, because without education, these children will be more vulnerable to being trafficked because they have no other way of making an income. And so I forgot about showing the whole process of chocolate. So from beans, they get fermented in banana leaves for 7 days. So they develop their flavors more, and then they get dried on the ground on like banana leaves or on tarps, and then they get grinded, so they turn into these cacao nibs. So I would usually have you guys taste these, but another time when we're together. So they turn into cacao nibs, and then they get grinded even more. That's what the process is called, conching. Thank you, Loretta. So then after they do the conching process, they temper the chocolate, which means bringing up to a high temperature and lowering it back down. So then the crystals form and come together, and you get your chocolate. So this is like the end product before it makes it to the chocolatiers. So you have your cacao farmers, your chocolate makers, and then your chocolatiers, which you hear about the chocolatiers more with Nestle or Newhouse or whoever like the big industries are, and the most popular ones are always in Europe, which they don't grow any chocolate in Europe. They just fund the farms that traffic these children. And so after you get all of your chocolates, then you have the chocolate, the end product. So chocolate is supposed to be expensive because it basically started off as a currency. So when you go to Mexico, that's basically where it known to be to have started. So in the Aztecs community, they use chocolate as a direct source for energy. So they grind up these beans, and then they turn it into hot chocolate, basically. So the purest form of chocolate is kind of bitter and has like different tastes to them. And I've actually stopped drinking coffee and just started eating chocolates more. So when you say store-bought chocolate, does anybody know how much percentage of chocolates there really is in those? Or want to take a guess?
2%. 10%,
yes. So that's why chocolate has a bad rap to it, because 10% chocolate mixed with high fructose corn syrup, a bunch of other chemicals, sugar, and the blood of children that were trafficked. So direct trade chocolate is the best one that you can get. It might be more expensive, but you're paying the farmers what they really should be getting. I know of 2 so far right now, the ones that we source from in Springfield and Manoa Chocolate in Hawaii, which they grow their own beans themselves. And I think you can visit their farms in Hawaii, and they have a wonderful story as well. They started off with just using a pink tricycle to conch their chocolate. Does anyone have any questions? I can't remember like my entire spiel because it's very different when it's on Zoom. Oh, so sorry. So with us making sure that we use direct trade chocolate, partnering with local farmers, we started Just Desserts, and because we're huge on education, and it was really our grandmother that really instilled to us to be able to give back to the community and share the talents that God has given us. So we try to educate as many people as possible. And so that's how we started Just Desserts. And we started with cake decorating, and we taught, has it been 9 students, Nanette, that we've taught? So somewhere along 9 students, I think, that we've taught cake decorating, and then two of them graduated our cake decorating classes. And so we want to educate more people in terms of teaching them different job skills so that they don't have to feel like they're not fully equipped when they go back into the community and try to find work for themselves.
So are you going to tell us how to order it, where to buy it?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, you can actually order from there. So it's chocolate, Loretta has it pulled up. It's chocolate.co to purchase the chocolates. And then
OKOLAT. Oh, go back.
Oh, it's right up there. Oh, I can type it in too on the
It's
chat.
not on my screen.
I typed it on the chat.
Can anybody hear me?
Hi, Joy.
I am sorry, I'm so late getting on. What have I been missing?
A lot.
I imagine.
A lot chocolate.
Did you save me some?
I was gonna say, okay, there is the chocolate website, chocolate subscription website. But once we're done with the website, I think Jana needs to hold that lovely dessert candy tray up for us to get a closer look at.
How's everybody doing?
A lot hungrier now.
All
when you talk
right.
about the chocolate. That chocolate makes me hungry. Stop.
Aren't they beautiful? I mean, they just don't look real. And I've seen them. They don't look real even when they're real. I mean, you're looking at a picture, but oh goodness, it's incredible.
I'll have to get down.
Art, works of art, each one of them. Oh, we must scroll over to the Attorney General picture. Oh, and yeah, so the picture with the pink short, oh, sorry, there's that one. They were able to present him with a gift of chocolate when he was giving, oh yeah, we didn't mention one of our volunteers got an Attorney General honors award. And so Jan and Lorelei were able to present him with a gift of their chocolate. But there was a special gathering for one of the volunteers and advocates who actually helped rescue a victim, now survivor, from the Midway truck stop. So the Attorney General there on the right, for those of you who don't know what he looks like, he's very tall. That's him. And then the picture on the other side with, I think, and who's in pink there? Is it Jana in pink there?
Yeah.
You please share about that. And then the wedding cake. So they spoke to a group of students. Please share, Jana.
Yeah, so we spoke with the Big Brothers Big Sisters Kids to Careers class. And so we shared with them basically what I've shared with you, except that they got to actually eat the chocolates. So they were very excited, and they some of them kind of freaked out when they actually tasted like the cacao nibs, because it's really bitter if you haven't worked your way up into eating 100% chocolate.
I'm close to it.
Nice.
Yeah, you have a chocolate lover there, Enjoy. I should say chocoholic. Like it, huh, Joy?
Yes. I've eaten 70% so far.
Good.
I like it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that you can actually use dark chocolate as part of your beauty regimen, because it actually helps your face clear up.
I wouldn't
You
wait
eat Nestle chocolate.
I want it in my mouth.
That way.
I try to do like the 90%.
Yeah,
I still eat too much, but I have a question.
Sure.
Can you believe if you go to the website and like say if a certain brand says it is fair trade, or can you believe that when they put that on their website?
I usually research the actual company before actually believing that.
Okay.
Because it's really hard to really know for sure, because there's a lot of hands that go through the beans before it actually gets to the people that make the chocolate.
Yeah. I was just wondering, I don't want to name it. There's a particular brand I usually get, or there's a couple different ones. So maybe I can try to, do you have an email address or something?
Yeah, I can put it on the chat too, so you have it.
Okay.
So chocolate makers, actually, I was sharing these with the kids. Most of the chocolate makers, they before eating anything else for like in the morning, they would have their children eat 8 ounces of dark chocolate before breakfast.
I could do that. That's my breakfast, actually. That and
Yeah, it's
Pepsi.
actually good for you.
Yeah. Well, I don't drink coffee. I don't smoke anymore. I gotta have something to wake me up.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
Aren't those beautiful? So, and also about fair trade, I know you were asking, and Jana, please say more, but the certification process for fair trade can sometimes be cumbersome and costly. And so, you know, to make a product that is ethically sourced shouldn't be burdensome, you know, to the person who's making that product available. So that's just a very broad statement about that, but there you can easily research. In fact, I had pulled up just there is a Lois. Oh no, not Lois. I'm sorry. I'm going to cut and paste it into the chat, and it gives a good description. I'm sure there's lots out there, but it just happens to be one that describes direct trade and fair trade. Let's see, where's the chat? Okay, here we go. I'm sending to, just wants me to send it to Christine's iPad. There it is, okay. And that one happens to be about coffee, but it would be the same in terms of principles. Of course, one is, Jana's been talking about chocolate and this one's talking about coffee, but in terms of the principles of each, I think it's helpful. But there are lots of places you can go on different websites to learn about the difference. And certainly I'd actually also Den Brothers Coffee. They don't exist in Columbia anymore, but for anyone who is in Jeff City and is familiar with Den Brothers and ever gets coffee there, they're one of the local businesses, at least they were in Columbia, now they're in Jeff City only, that dealt with direct trade for their coffee. And so thinking about a company that actually, as Jana said, goes and meets the farmers and has relationships with them. And so, you know, because you're in direct relationship with them, that there is no trafficking, and that you're together in that partnership, ensuring that there's fair prices and fair and appropriate work conditions, and all of those things that should be in place for everyone to be in a healthy, safe environment and get.
Right. And so like the part also of the awful part about not sustainably sourcing your chocolate is that when these kids do get trafficked, they have no idea what the end product of what they're even growing or they're working towards. They've never even tasted chocolate, nor do they even get paid for what they're doing.
Yes. I appreciate you really saying what it is when you talk about the blood of children as one of the ingredients. I know that maybe or maybe not, that might seem harsh as we listen, but for me, it's important to speak to the reality of how these different products, these different things that we eat and use and buy are made. It kind of also similar to when we talk about sex trafficking of children, it's really children being raped. And we don't often speak in those terms, but that's exactly what it is. So,
yeah,
Jana.
But it sounds awful when I say it, but you can't really sugarcoat the reality of what these children's lives or what they're facing at the current moment. When I could just sugarcoat it and not say it exactly how it is, but that wouldn't do justice to what is being done to these children. Because there's a lot more responsibility for us as the end consumer, and also the people that provide these products.
And you speak to exactly when when we talk about each one of us having some responsibility, but also some part to play, that if we're not taking time to be conscientious, to educate ourselves and to choose products that we can understand where it came from, then we're participating in some way as consumers of these other products that where trafficking does exist. And so we might not be, you know, we're not the trafficker, we're not buying people for sex, we're may not be doing those things, or don't, you know, have a sweatshop, and we're not putting people in a sweatshop. But if we're not doing our due diligence and making some different choices where we can about what we get and understand the source of these products, and we're in a way participating in the slavery ourselves.
We're still part of the crime if we really look at it.
Can I ask y'all something? How do I get back in here with the pictures?
What do you mean?
Hello?
Are you not seeing us? I'm not sure. Did your
Well,
screen go
now
black?
I've got a picture of 4 of you. No, I can't see everybody, but I can see her there. I see you, Nanette.
Okay,
Well,
well,
if you're,
I see.
yeah, if
If
you're on
you-
your phone, you're only going to be able to see
Yeah.
4 squares at a time.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you
I
can
see.
slide your phone, you can slide the phone, use your finger and slide it, we'll go over to other people. But right now it's just a slide
Oh.
on, not several people. Any other questions for Jana and Elle? I know that you work in close partnership together, so we appreciate your silent presence here in spirit, more than spirit, but not able to speak. Any other questions?
I do have a.
Or
Go ahead.
I want to know. Y'all said that when it's a child, that is rape. But what do you call it when we're adults? When we go from being a child to an adult?
It's the same. It's the same.
I was just looking to say, yeah. I didn't know.
I just said that because we were talking about children who are in the slave trade in fields, which
Yeah.
is what Jana's been talking about. Yeah. So.
I see.
Yeah.
Nanette,
Yeah.
it's Chris from Lake the Ozark. There is always a fair trade program and a fair trade buying day down here in Camdenton. And it's usually at Community Christian Church in October. And they had a book there called the Better World Shopping Guide. And it lists all the different companies that are not ethical as far as their emission control, what they are doing to the climate and the ozone layer and stuff. And then they also focus on companies that hire child labor in different companies, and they have a section for chocolate. But it's called, the little booklet is called The Better World Shopping Guide. It's by Ellis Jones, and it comes out like every year and a half with different editions. So if anybody's interested to look up a company that they like their products and read about them, I would suggest that book.
Thank you. And as Loretta put it up, and I think we will keep sharing good information about how you can research and good websites, but it was wonderful to have our local chocolatiers share directly with us. So thank you for that booklet. That was a good, again, awareness to action. So we can buy from our local chocolatiers. We can also inform ourselves through resources that are available, very reliable resources. And Gina adds, what a wonderful meeting. Thanks for the great information. I will be ordering chocolate. So.
yeah, so every time you guys order chocolate, it actually funds just desserts. So you're hitting two, 3 birds with 1 stone.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jana and Elle. Appreciate everyone
for having us.
By the way, I think in September, because it's so close to Labor Day, it's the Thursday before Labor Day weekend. So we expect a lot of people will be maybe already gone for the Labor Day weekend. So plan on our coalition monthly meeting being the second Thursday of the month. So there's Christine shared the Better World Shopping Guide in the chat by Ellis Jones. And Elle, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.